Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Dadas Show. I'm your host, Ashiko Mbune. As our name suggests, Dadas Show aspires to promote the spirit of sisterhood, solidarity and inclusivity amongst the women of Kenya and beyond. And we do this by creating an open and a safe platform for women to discuss any and all issues pertaining to their health and well-being, their lifestyle and career, their families, among other topics. We also take pride in celebrating women who are doing great things, not only for themselves, but for society at large. On today's episode, we are honored to host a very relevant, very timely, and very inspiring conversation. As Ireland marks St. Bridget's Day, this is a day that is set aside to celebrate the achievement, the leadership, and the impact of Irish women globally. Kenya is playing her part by hosting two exemplary and exceptional Olympians in Kenya who are using their legacy to actually empower girls through sports. Under the theme of tackling barriers, building future and empowering girls through sport, my wonderful audience are actually going out of their way to engage not only with girls, but with communities to show them how sports can be able to build confidence, open doors, and of course, change lives. This is not just a conversation about medals. This is a conversation about resilience, leadership, and of course, purpose. As always, we welcome you at home to take part and keep this conversation going on all our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1. You can also reach us on Facebook at Dadas KBC. You can also reach me personally at Ashiko the host across all social media platforms. I would really love to hear from you. Give us your questions, your feedback, your thoughts on this and any other episode we've had before. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. Now, before we get into today's extremely illuminating conversation, let's take a look at the following feature.
In every corner of Kenya, from the highlands of West Pokot to the running hills of the Elgeyo Marakwet to the street of Kibera and Mathare, young girls are chasing dreams bigger than their circumstances. Through sport, they are finding confidence, discipline, and their belief that future can be different. This week, as Ireland marks St. Bridget's Day, a global celebration of the impact and leadership of Irish women, Kenya becomes a stage for a powerful message. This year's theme, tackling barriers, building futures, empowering girls through sports in Kenya. It is a reminder that when girls are given opportunity, mentorship, and support, sports become more than a game. It becomes a gateway to education, leadership, advocacy, and courage. Leading this mission are two women who know what it is with the next generation of Kenyan girls. In West Pokot, the athletes visited Nasokol Girls School, a pride participant in the embassy's Young Scientist Kenya program and a rising sports powerhouse. Here, the girls' football team recently placed that nationally, proving that with opportunity, rural girls can compete and excel on the national stage. From rural communities to urban settlements, the message remains the same. In Kibera and Mathare, youth dialogues on sport, governance, and empowerment highlight how athletics can create pathways away from risk and towards purpose. For these young people, meeting world-class athletes is more than inspiration. It is a proof that greatness can rise from any background. Today on Dadas Show, these two Olympians sit down not just as champions, but as women who understand resilience, reinvention, and responsibility. They share how discipline becomes leadership, how success becomes service, and how sport can become a tool to build confidence and courageous girls. Because when girls are empowered, communities are transformed. From Kenya to Ireland, from grassroots to global, this is a story of more than medals. It is a story of barriers broken, futures built, and girls rising. Stay with us for this powerful conversation on Dadas Show. My name is Edna Murungi.
Welcome back. As mentioned, today I have the honor of welcoming two champions who on and off track. So Dadas, welcome. Join me, actually. I'm very, very honored. Join me as we welcome Irish Olympians and international champions, Derval Rook. And right next to her, we've got Karen Shinkins. Of course, they're going to tell us their journeys and the accolades and, of course, the milestones that they've hit as we carry on with conversation. I'd also like to acknowledge my gracious host, who is, the Embassy of Ireland, and, of course, you at home for sitting and tuning to this particularly milestone episode of Dadas Show. Now, to get the ball rolling, I want to hear from both of you. You see, I know when I would have started your introductions, would be here for like 10 minutes talking about the milestones and accolades that are attached to your name. But from you, tell us a little bit about yourself, your sporting journeys, some of the milestones, and of course your experience. Actually, just start off with, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, first of all, it's a total honor to be here on Dadas Show, particularly at this milestone episode. We're very grateful you've had us on, and all your viewers at home. So I guess my life in sports started when I was young. When I was 6 years old, I started running on some grass outside my house. That's how my career began, and it kept moving forward from there. I had some really great people, a great teacher who encouraged me, my family, my community back in Ireland, and that continued. And then I placed sport alongside education. Sport gave me a lot of opportunity in education. I got a scholarship to college, university, and I went to the Olympic Games, the World Championships, European Championships, and had a 12-year professional career in sport.
Oh, wow. That's truly impressive. What are some of the milestones? Because I know, like I was telling you, there's so many, but what are some of the ones that stood out to you and you sat down and you said, you know what, I've done good for myself and also for womankind?
Oh,
pressure.
That is a big question.
Yeah.
What were them? That's interesting. I think first of all, getting a scholarship to university, because I believe education is powerful, and I think the more women can learn and empower themselves, that was my first really big milestone.
Yeah.
Going from where I lived in Ireland, I went from Cork, which is in Southern Ireland, to the capital city, Dublin, as a scholarship athlete. That was really big.
It's a big deal, yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't really know any other girls who had ever gotten a scholarship.
Yeah.
So that was a really big deal for me, and my sport combined with my academic took me to that. And then I think the next one was qualifying for my first Olympic Games, because as a kid, I thought going to the Olympic Games was like going to the biggest sports party in the world.
Oh, wow.
I thought if you're going to have a party for sport, it's called
Might
the
as well
Olympic
be,
Games.
yeah.
So qualifying for that Olympic Games was really special. And again, I didn't know very many girls in my community who had done that. I knew girls in the bigger city who had, but in my local community, so it felt like a big deal. I grew up in an area with loads of houses all around, loads of families, and it felt really special.
Yeah.
And for me, my career highlight, my biggest moment was probably becoming world champion.
Yeah.
And when I became world champion, I thought, on this one day, I'm the best in the world.
Yes,
I'm the best girl in the world on this one day. And I think women are so impressive. They're so powerful. They're so inspiring. So to have one day where I thought I could be the best one was really, really special for me. So
Absolutely.
there's some of mine.
That's something that can definitely last you a lifetime. What about you, Karen? Tell us about your sporting journey. Tell us a little bit about yourself. What are some of your accolades and milestones that you sit back and go like, wow?
Yeah. Well, similar to Derval, I started around 7 years old. I grew up in a small town in Ireland in the county next to Dublin called Kildare. And an athletic club had opened up in my town. So a field next to the neighbourhood I was growing up in, somebody had started an athletic club, and my brother was in the athletic club, and he was instructed one evening to take his little sister
along,
get her out of the house, take her with you. So I went along to the athletic club, and lots of kids were there, and we were all lined up to race, and I was among the kids, and I won the race. It was boys and girls, but I won the race. And all the other kids protested. There was no way the little girl could have won. She cheated, so we were all made line up again, and I won again.
Wow.
So that was when people started to think, wow, she must actually be fast. And when I started to realize, wow, I might be fast.
I can move.
Yeah, so that was the start of it. And then along the way, it was same as Derval. My parents were adamant that education was priority, and then your athletic pursuits were going to have to come in second place. But it was always part of my life from the age of 7 all the way up. I alternated between my studies and running, and it kept me focused. It gave me something to strive for, to work for, to challenge myself. I went to college. When came time to choosing colleges, I knew I wanted to stay home in Ireland. A lot of athletes in Ireland sometimes will go to the US on scholarships, but I knew I wanted to stay based in Ireland. So I chose my college based on the ones that had tracks.
Yeah.
Because not all universities in Ireland have tracks.
Yes.
So that's how I chose that. I think some standout moments for me were the first time I broke the Irish record in my event in the 400 meters. It had stood for about 11 years.
Wow.
And I broke it probably 3 times that season and qualified for my first major championships, was the European Championships that year. And then it kind of just snowballed from there. There was a growth in my confidence, there was a growth in my abilities, there was a growth in my belief in myself. And then I was on to World Championships and Olympic Games. But I think the race that qualified me for the Olympic Games was just, yes, that moment you realize, wow, I've just qualified for the pinnacle of my sport.
Yeah.
And it's kind of emotional because it's a journey of a lot of successes and a lot of failures, and a lot of people along the way don't buy into your vision. They don't buy into your dream that you are striving to see how far and how high you can go in the sport. There's like a small group of people that realign with that, and it was so validating to kind of show the people who were behind you what was possible and that we achieved it, and to kind of prove to those that a girl from a small town in a small country is capable of getting to such a level. And then I was the first Irish sprinter to medal at a European Championships when I won a bronze medal in the European indoors. So that was a moment, and that was men or women, not just the first woman sprinter. So that was a standout moment for me too.
You've mentioned something about, there are naysayers. I believe everybody has the naysayers. What are you doing? You're wasting time. You should be focusing on this. How did you handle that, and how are you sharing these lessons as you have traveled in your recent journey, as you've traveled across the country to some of the girls that you have had the opportunity to meet? I'll start off with you, Derval.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. I think when it comes to being told you can't do something, I really always believed in proving myself right instead of proving everybody else wrong.
I love that.
So I always tried to bring it back to what did I want to do for me to create more opportunity, open doors in my life. And it was a nice byproduct that I proved some people wrong.
Yeah.
But the greatest sense was proving myself right. And as Karen said, there had been so many people who helped me for no reason other than just to be really good people, and they were really kind, and there were moments in my life where I had people help me that changed the direction of my life. So when we've been here in the past few days and we've seen the girls and the women, something that stands out to me very genuinely here in Kenya is the girls are so resilient and strong and tough, because there are challenges, very clear challenges, and yet the amount of hope and aspiration is so high. And you look at them, and I think when I look at them, I feel, I hope they prove themselves right. Yes. They get good champions to prove themselves right. So I hope, just even if a little bit of our story was that we were 2 girls that grew up in Ireland, and Ireland has had its own problems, its own difficulties, and sport for girls was not always easy in Ireland. So I hope if they just got the message that whatever way they want to prove themselves right, that they can do well in academia. We met girls and we talked about STEM, sport, different sport, not just track and field, football, basketball, field hockey. How do they prove themselves right? And then how does that filter out into the different communities we've met? But I will be leaving here, going back to Ireland, thinking about that resilience. And we saw it from teeny tiny little girls to grown women. And it's been incredible to see. So if we've left a tiny mark, that's a very humbling thing for us.
I mean, I know the mark that you've left in me is proving yourself right. Not because I think that's what we go through life, always going, oh, I'm going to show them, I'm going to prove them wrong. In even the different walks of life and the different things that we have to deal with, you're always out to prove somebody wrong, as opposed to proving yourself right, which of course means that you actually have to believe in yourself. You have to trust your abilities. So I think that's my takeaway from you, Darvel, and I'm hoping that the ladies and the women that you've interacted with are going to be more invested in their own strengths and their own confidence. Yeah.
You know, you can't, it's so hard to control the noise and the world, but you can control how you speak to yourself. You can control how you approach opportunities, how you approach your life. And I think for me, it's always about what do I have and how do I use what I have? I'm not going to worry about what I don't have, and I'm not going to worry about what people say. And those times when you do prove yourself right, there's such a validation, and that's a word I know Karen used. There's such a validation in that, and also I think it's more positive energy for women. I believe women come into the world as the most positive beings, and you need to hold on to that like positive feminine energy and keep proving yourself right.
Excellent. What about you, Karen? You know, you've had to, from the get-go, you know, your brother begrudgingly tugged you along with him, and you won. I'm sure that was the first set of challenges, but you've experienced challenges along the way. You know, if you were to share, or what are some of the lessons that you shared with the girls as you were, you know, going around to places like Kapenguria, to Iten, to Madare, to Kibera? You know, what are some of the things that you share with them and you'd like even our viewers to know? To build on what Derval said, I remember maybe it was naivety as I was growing up too. I mean, I remember being very confused by the people who didn't understand my vision or didn't see us. How did they not understand? So I remember being very confused. And it wasn't a driving force for me to prove them right or wrong. It was just something I just kind of parked because I had so much positive energy around me. The close circle of people that I trusted were saying positive things. So I just found it very confusing. But to build on what Derval was saying when we went to the girls' school and everything, what stood out to me is the community of people around these girls that believe in them so hard and have done things like set up STEM programs in the schools, have brought people like us in to talk to them about sport and show them what's possible. With some dedication, with some focus, with some sacrifice, because it is a sport of sacrifice too. To achieve your goals is not easy, and it's an up and down journey full of disappointments. I mean, I think I've had more disappointments than successes in the sport, but you learn how to pivot and you learn how to grow and you learn what worked and what didn't work. And I think that is something that's really important for women too. It builds a resilience, it builds a strength, it builds a confidence in yourself that you can, okay, this didn't work. Dust yourself off. What can we go back to the drawing board? What can we do different this time? But from the teachers to the leaders in their community, to their families who sent them to the boarding schools for these opportunities, I mean, there was just a lot of people driving the visions of these girls, and that can't be underestimated. I even sat in a room with a group of gentlemen yesterday, two male athletes, who want to bring what they've learned from participating in the sport, from traveling internationally, and they have a different way of approaching women and a different respect for women. So it takes a lot of shift in a lot of small areas to make big change, and I think we saw a lot of that happening over the past few days, and it's been really encouraging, really eye-opening for us. Now, speaking of women, St. Bridget's Day is definitely a celebration that, for the contribution of women globally. Now, you two are definitely in the lineup for that. What does this day mean to you personally as Irish women who have actually represented your country on the world stage?
For me, one of the words that I always come back to with St. Bridget's Day is hope. It's about hope. you know, you don't have to have everything you're striving for, but the hope to have it and the hope for change and the hope for more is really important. And that's definitely what it means to me, is that bit of hope. And for us being here with the Irish Embassy and seeing the partnerships with the community here, and then thinking about St. Bridget's Day and how hope comes into it, it feels like a huge part of those partnerships. And what we saw here in our few days were so many different types of partnerships and in so many different arenas, but yet you'd see hope. Everywhere there's hope for more, hope for better. So for me, St. Bridget, she brings hope, and if we've brought a little bit, if we've just shone a light on the hope that's here already, and that's for me, that's what it's meant.
That's wonderful. What about you, Karen? What is St. Bridget's Day?
I think it's the recognition women are finally getting. People are starting to recognize that we have a lot to offer. We bring a lot to the table. We bring a different viewpoint, and we bring different skills. So I think for me, I think St. Bridget's Day is even new for Ireland. It's only become a national holiday in the past few years. So people are just now starting to pay attention and wanting to include women more, because I think we're just showing we can't be ignored. We're achieving so much in so many areas that it's time to step up and recognize and see if that potential can be tapped in more areas.
Oh, wow. That's nice, and we're definitely proud as Dadas Show, and of course as Kenya, to be proud, to be part of the celebration. I know that there's so many of my viewers who did not know about St. Bridget's Day, so we obviously encourage you to actually go and find out the history behind St. Bridget's Day and why we are exceptionally honored to have these wonderful ladies here with us. So the theme of this year, as you were going around, was tackling barriers, building futures, of course, empowering girls through sport in Kenya. From what you have seen so far, what are some of the barriers that Kenyan girls, of course, face, and how can sports realistically help change their lives? Kenya, like you mentioned, is one of those places where, women in sports is always looked at as a second tier. So just from the get-go, the challenges are very obvious, lack of funding, lack of support. So I'm sure those are some of the challenges, but how can sports realistically change and shape the futures of these young girls?
For me, it has been eye-opening and inspiring to see how big the challenges are. But yet the challenges for girls and women here live alongside this such positive outlook for more and for change, and that bit of hope that I keep talking about. So when I consider sport, and I consider the few days we've been here and the women and girls we've met, sport is an agent for change.
Yes.
And that doesn't mean you have to go to the Olympic Games. So if you put a girl on a track, on a piece of grass, on a pitch, if you have them running, you raise their confidence. And a big part of what you do is they talk about everything.
Yes,
girls love to meet and talk.
Chit-chat, yes.
And talking while you're walking, while you're running, while you're kicking a football, while you're playing basketball, that's really important. And when we were in the communities and we were interacting with the girls, we could see how close they were, and the energy between them and their groups.
Yeah.
So for me, it's the confidence, it's the relationships with other girls is really, really important in sport. And then it's that sport is, again, not just achieving, it's about it being a mechanism,
of course,
and an environment, and just growing from there. And also we were in E10, and in E10 it's, the mecca of a track and field. It's like, for us to get to this point.
How was that for you? Sorry for that.
Yes.
That must have been mind-blowing.
It was.
Yeah.
It felt very surreal to have had all these years of seeing it and not being there. And then you go there and you feel the energy, but the female energy there. And, we had really good engagement and talks with female athletes. We were in the Kipron House. We also talked to Tirops Angels. And to hear, yes, it's about the performances, but it's so much more. It's the whole system. How do you get girls and women into all of the different areas of sport? sports administration, sports coaching, sports management, sports, the medical side. So it's about women thinking and feeling and striving to be in every part. So for me, that's been incredible.
Oh, wow. That's excellent. Karen, what about you? What are some of the challenges that you saw?
Well, when we went to E10 yesterday too, it was just, I suddenly felt really legit as an athlete, because it's something we all know exists.
You were in the home of champions,
yes,
as they call it.
Exactly. It's just like, oh, I've been here now. Yeah, because if you haven't been, you kind of feel like, am I legit? Because Kenyans have such a reputation on the world stage in athletics. You guys have the top of the top in the distance events, men and women.
Yes.
So you're very much respected as a nation when in the area of athletics. And so going to E10 and seeing that system in place, and I had heard that E10 started off as a small tiny village, just a few houses, but based on Kenya's success in athletics, this whole city grew. Schools are there for boys and girls. Tourists come to run. So it's a very healthy city. It's a very happy city. It's a very positive vibe that's out there. And this all came off the back of Kenya's successes in sport. And that this place was available to Kenya. And I think it showed surrounding areas and the whole country what is possible. And then, like I said, other opportunities came out of it. School systems came out, which now the top schools, highly respected schools where children can go and get an education. Sometimes the door opening is the sport, but then you get in there and you realize I'm into science or I'm into math, or I prefer the support side of athletics, the medical staff, the coaching side. So it was just really fascinating to see what came in that area because of Kenya's success in athletics.
Yeah. Wow, thank you so much, Karen, for that. We're going to take a small break, and then when we come back, we'll hear a little bit more of the details of where exactly our ladies went, what their experience was like over there, and of course, what the experience has been like in general in Kenya. And so don't go far away. We'll take a short break, and then we'll see you shortly. Welcome back. For those who've been with us, I hope you've enjoyed the first session. For those who have missed it, fear not, because all the episodes are on YouTube. So I want to carry on with our conversation with our wonderful Olympians. It's definitely been, as promised, an illuminating session. Now, you're both retired. So I know you moved on to do other things. What are those other things? Because I'm sure when we have Olympians or champions or athletes in Kenya, people always wonder, what do they do after? So what are you doing now?
Whenever I get asked that question, I think it's because I'm a woman. I feel the need to say I'm doing loads of different jobs, and which I am doing lots of work. But the biggest thing I'm doing, I have 2 children.
Yes.
I have a 10-year-old daughter and a 6-year-old son. And the biggest thing that takes up my life is parenting my kids, and then trying to balance parenting with the rest of life. Because when you're a professional track and field athlete, as we were, you do, a lot of the time you'll still do other things because you're always trying to prepare for the end of that. And then you retire, and often, because for women, the reality is I retired at 32. I was thinking, okay, I need to really start thinking about if I want to have babies. So I had my first baby really quickly after I retired. So I've done a lot of juggling between getting my head around being a new mom, and getting my head around finding a career and trying to balance both of those. So I would say, since I've retired, that's the biggest job, has been how do I be lots of different people. And I think women are really good at going between different roles. So that's an overriding thing for me. And then I work in a little bit of Irish television. On the track and field coverage. When track is on television, I work in it, and I work in some other programs on Irish television. I do a lot online. I do a lot in the digital space on Instagram. They can find me on Instagram. I can have lots of Kenyan friends. That would be fantastic.
I love it.
Yeah. So different things. I think when you've been a professional athlete, but also when you're a woman, you're really good at wearing different hats. So I've I've also written 2 cookbooks.
Oh wow! Oh wow!
Yes, yeah.
That is impressive.
Yes, so I like to show a lot of cooking. So yeah, and as well, I like to coach. I like to coach kids actually much more than really good athletes.
Yeah.
I like grassroots, getting, whether you're the fastest girl or the slowest girl, I don't care, because sport can make a difference to your life. So that's what my life is about now. Lots of different things with my children in the middle of it.
I love it. I love everything that you have said, because it is so real and it is so relatable. And I know that there's so many, female athletes who've gotten to a point and they want to retire, and they find that they don't have space in society because they were so accustomed to this particular routine, and now they want to embrace all the other facets of womanhood.
Fantastic.
What about you, Karen? What are you up to now?
Well, my journey on the other side of retirement was a little heavier than Derval's. So I think I retired around 30.
Yeah.
And the thing for me is just like, everybody was just like, oh, so you'll start a family now. That was the assumption. You're done with this, now you'll focus on being a mother. And at the time, that's not what I wanted my next step to be. I hadn't figured out what my next step was, and that was something I kind of regretted during my journey, because when you're involved in athletics, you're deep into it, and it's your only focus, and you're not really thinking about beyond that. You're thinking about the next championships, the next race, that kind of your next training session. So I hadn't really planned well for retirement. So when it happened, like you said, suddenly all the discipline was gone, all the focus was gone, the structure of my day was gone. So that was very confusing and a lot to navigate. And then, everybody assuming that babies was the next step for me. I was like, no, I feel like there's something else I want to do, but I just don't know what that is yet. So I wanted to give myself time to figure that out. And I had moved to the US in the meantime too, and I naively thought my education in Ireland would translate well to the US. So that was something I realized, that the degree I had worked for in Ireland suddenly wasn't received in the same way as if I'd gotten my degree from a US college. So that was kind of a surprise as well. So there was a lot I was trying to navigate and figure out, and I just had to give myself time and space to go, okay, before athletics came into my world, what were some things I was into? What are some things that excited me? And photography was always something I'd had a passion for and a curiosity about. So I decided to take a photography course over in the US, and I became a qualified photographer, and then I became a professional photographer, and I actually shot a lot of the pictures for her first cookbook.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, and then when I got to 35, I felt like I was in a good place, established in my new life. And that's when I had my first baby, and that's considered old. They called me advanced maternal age.
Oh yeah, at least they're not using the word we don't like, geriatric.
Geriatric pregnancy. I got that as well. I got them all, and I was like, I'm 35.
I know. That makes you look like you're walking in with stroller to get your baby. Come on.
And it was just as confused as when people didn't buy into my vision when I was younger about being an Olympia. I was like, well, I don't see what you see.
Yeah.
So I had my first baby at 35, and I very quickly followed it up with my second baby because I felt the pressure of time. And so I have 2 boys, and now they're just a year and a half apart. And like Derval said, that's a whole other animal.
That's
learning
a full-time
to be a mother.
job,
Whew, like literally, I watched my life get turned upside down alongside watching my husband's life not miss a beat. Like, he still was able to do the things he did. He was still able to keep pursuing his business, but a lot of my stuff had to pause.
Wow, I mean, on that note, very briefly, what piece of advice would you have for, let's say, one of our ladies? Like we mentioned, Kenya is very well known, especially in athletics, and the ladies are retiring because, of course, the tenure is not very long.
The first thing I would say is don't rush. Don't rush. Some people, I think, Derval, you were pretty confident what you wanted to do on the other side of it. Well, I feel like you had more of a plan than I did. I didn't have that plan. So I would say, and I saw that when we visited the schools and everything, that the teachers are very much giving the girls other options.
Okay.
And encouraging them to pursue other passions, which I think is really smart, because then you
Yes.
don't end up in a situation like I did, where you're finished and now what? And it's such a shock. But if you are in that situation, I would say just pause, give yourself time, reflect on who you are outside of the athletic arena, because you are a person outside of that too, before that consumed your world. And that's what I had to do, was just like, what were my other passions? What were the other things that I was curious about and interested in? And where can I pursue those?
Excellent. What about you, Derval?
I would like to make a point that before the athletes get to that stage, to consider what their rights are, I think is very, very important. And when we when we were in E10 in particular, and we were talking to the athletes, the female athletes in particular, what are their rights around coaching, you know, contracts, if they have contracts, their financial well-being, because this career is so short, and if you have the capacity to make money in it, that money needs to go a long way for a long time. So what are you doing with that money? Where are you getting your advice? Who's really on your team? So women need advocates. They need advocates with each other, but we need male champions, male advocates as well. So for me, that retirement piece starts a good few years before the day you retire. So that's something that was very evident, that is starting to come into conversation here in Kenya. And as Karen has said, the Kenyan athletes have lit up the world, and we've all watched. So they really deserve to prosper and do well, you know, their families, their communities, from their global achievements. So putting those structures in place, maybe those few years before that moment comes, is really important. And again, you know, what are their rights, and standing up for themselves and having those male advocates who will stand up for them, their rights, is crucial.
You're also supporting programs that are linked to the International Anti-FGM Day. How can sport, and of course a strong female role model, help the girls stand up for their rights and believe in their value? Of course, still in the same breath about talking about rights.
Well, we're really proud to be Irish and be over here, and to see that the Irish funded programs and partnerships that are happening. You know, we're a country that really benefited from other countries coming in and supporting us. So as Ireland, we have seen incredible male and female champions amongst the people we've met while we've been here. And I think the Kenyan youth is so impressive to us. And, you know, a statistic we were told is the average age is 19 in Kenya. So it is a young, youthful country who have such a capacity to change and make it better for all the human beings here. So, you know, sport is just one method through which to deliver those key points of respect and understanding and safety for women is just really crucial. And again, as Irish, having any impact makes us incredibly proud.
Oh, wow. I love that. What about you, Karen? Do you have anything to add on to that?
Yeah, well, while we were in E10, we were honoured to be in the rooms when a lot of these conversations were happening with our own Embassy of Ireland, EU delegates, local governors and various other people. And I naively assumed coming over here that if we talk to the women, if we talk to the girls about FGM and gender-based violence, you know, that'll make an impact. But it's so much broader than that. There's so much more people who need a mind shift and other things that need to be put in place. And to be in those rooms with those conversations with people advocating with funding and for ideas on change, from the parents to the school system to the sports to the men, everybody was part of the conversation, and what small piece of the puzzle they can contribute for the overall effect. And that was something I didn't think of coming over here. I thought it was a women-specific issue. We must talk to the girls, we must talk to the women, but it's so much broader than that. And there's so much more people that need to be involved and to be educated. And that was huge for me.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for that. You see, like I mentioned to you, Dadas means sister. What role does a woman play in building a strong support network for some of the girls that you interacted with?
For me, women and other girls play such a massive role in encouragement. And in Ireland, we have had this program for years called the Young Scientist. And in Kenya, they now have the Young Scientist program as well. And it's connected through the Irish Embassy and it's funded through the Irish. And we met 2 girls who took part in that program and who were exceptional young women. So when you speak about women, I can see in my mind at home in Ireland the young girls on television who take part in that competition, and then coming to Kenya and seeing like their sisters from a different country who are taking part, and then they travel to Ireland. So I think, you know, we take care of each other in our own communities, our own sisters, our cousins, our aunties, our moms, our grandparents, and then there's so many similarities in other countries. We're more alike than we are different. So for me, that's been a big program, that you see that sisterhood and you see them lifting each other up. So meeting those girls who were incredible at STEM, they could do things I can't even dream of. So it was absolutely fantastic. And seeing that that's so female driven as well as with women in STEM is absolutely brilliant.
Oh, that's really good. What about you, Karen? How can women build strong support networks through sports and education?
I think the visibility that's being created, like when you see something is possible, like it's okay to read or hear, but when you can see women doing exceptional things, it stirs something, it plants a seed of possibility, I think, in other girls and other women. And I think us on the other side of our careers, we have a very unique skill set that we can bring. I've started coaching children over in Atlanta too, and I very much have a passion for coaching girls. And whether or not they go on to be track athletes or anything like that, is just to give them the opportunity to move, to put themselves against other girls, other boys, just that sense of competition. So I think you bring a skill set from your career that you can now give to a younger generation, and you can talk to them about where you were, and you can talk about the opportunities that opened up for you. Like, I would not be living in the US right now if it wasn't for my career. You wouldn't have your college education. There's so many, we wouldn't be sitting here with you today had we not had the career. We wouldn't have had the experience we've had this week in Kenya without that. So I think the visibility is so important, because I think we take in information more by what we see rather than what we read about.
Oh, wow. Now, finally, for girls who are watching us, you know, from Nairobi to Eldoret, to Iten, to Kitale, to West Pokot, to Kibera, to Mathare, all the places that you are actually able to visit, what is your message for this young girl who is dreaming big but feels like she's limited because of her circumstances?
Well, we have travelled from Nairobi to Eldoret, and we have seen firsthand that their capacity, the girls' capacity in this country, is limitless. They can be absolute change makers. And I think believing in themselves, using the communities around them and lifting each other up, they can achieve so much. Kenya is a country on the rise, and there's so much that they're going to achieve, but you need strong women, and you have them. The whole breadth of this country, you have strong women. So keep believing, keep proving themselves right, and keep using good people. You talk about your leading light of athletes. There's so many of them. Engage. We all have social media. We all have digital. It's so much easier in the world now to reach out, to ask for help. If the first person doesn't help you, you reach out to the next person. If the second, you go to number 10. Keep finding the good people that will help you to go to the places that you're capable of going, because the capability in this country is fantastic by young women.
What about you, Karen? What are you going to tell that young girl who's staring at you, or, you know, all starry-eyed and thinking, that could never be me?
I think the energy and the enthusiasm and the drive we have felt from just interacting with the youth in Kenya this week has just been amazing, and they want to do it. You can see they want to do it. the fear would be coming up against rejection. And like Derval said, I think the strong message has to be, if you got a no here, choose a different avenue, try a different way. Your first no is not the end. It's an opportunity to go in a different direction. And I think that's something that kind of dulls people's fire a little bit. And we came up against it too. But if you're driven and you have a belief in yourself and you know or are curious about a direction, keep pushing, keep driving, because there you will find the people who want to support that and who see what you feel. And I think that's it, is just don't take no's, build your resilience and keep trying. The opportunities are there, they're just waiting for you to find them.
Wow. So don't take no, keep trying. Opportunities are there. They're just waiting for you to find them. For the girls who are watching us, remember that your circumstances do not define your destiny. Your future is very powerful, and your opportunity to rise is right now, because your dreams are extremely valid. We of course welcome you to keep this conversation going on all our social media pages that we mentioned earlier. On behalf of the team at KBC and from all of us at Dadas Show, a huge asante to the Embassy of Ireland, our partners, and to Derval and Karen for standing and sticking next to our Kenyan girls. So until next time, keep building, keep rising, keep proving yourself right. But for now, goodbye.